This is in the Constitution, but represented a major compromise at the time is the 3/5 of all other persons. That meant slaves. It was designed to just pragmatically and not morally to resolve differences between the states that had many slaves in the population and those that didn't. The small state, big state conflict gave us the Senate, which equally represents each state, and the House of Representatives, which was for the big states, Massachusetts, Virginia, and New York. So it was a miraculous document, really, and there's a very popular book called Miracle at Philadelphia that puts it exactly that way. We got a strong national government with the tripartite heads and our federal system out of that. And in fact, that was a lot of what we needed. But that was only one step, see. The events in Philadelphia gave us a document that was signed by the participants, but we then had to ratify it. And that's when the Bill of Rights really came to the fore. The first several states ratified it without too much difficulty, but then what state would it be that would be rebellious and rabble-rousing? Which one would it be today? Of course, it was the same state that gave us the Boston Tea Party in Concord and Lexington. The so-called anti-federalists included great rebel philosopher thinkers like Jefferson, firebrand orators like Patrick Henry, who his rhetoric against King George and his rhetoric against the Constitution sound just about alike. And then there were statesmen like John Adams, who was one of the point people in Massachusetts. And their argument of the anti-federalists was, we need a Bill of Rights. That was one of the arguments. I think they were concerned across the board about this strong central government, but that was one of the things. Madison, who together with Jay and Hamilton had published the Federalist Papers, had opposed the Bill of Rights. And his arguments were, number one, we don't need it. The people will protect their rights. Second, nothing other than what's within the scope of natural rights will result out of this process. And third, it would be dangerous to have a Bill of Rights because by enumerating certain of them, you tend to implicitly exclude others. As a result of what happened in Massachusetts, Madison came around to the opposite point of view, and having, I guess he was a good lawyer because he had ridden the horse in one direction and then recognizing that the document was not going to get ratified. And it would be impossible to put everybody back in the same closet again, don't you see, to hammer out that agreement with all those compromises. He became the father not only of the original Constitution but of the Bill of Rights as well. And so the deal was struck. Massachusetts ratified the Constitution, but with a direction to its delegation in the first Congress to pass a Bill of Rights as a set of amendments. The other states that ratified after that did the same thing. That passed the requisite 2/3 of Congress and the 3/4 of the states very quickly. So that's how we got the Bill of Rights. And what does it say? What does it do? Well, it's really a pretty spare document, just like everything else. And some people have said one of the labels that's put on the Bill of Rights is that it is a monumental afterthought. A monumental afterthought, and you can see why from that history. The other is that, like other provisions in the Constitution, it is full of grandiloquent generalities and not a few oxymorons. With that kind of language, and maybe that's what a Constitution should be. It's the basic document. It's not part of the tax code. It's not supposed to be read that way. The First Amendment gives us, of course, the freedom of speech, the religion clauses and the freedom of conscience implied out of those. The Second Amendment, subject to the militia clause, gives us the right to keep and bear arms. The Third Amendment is aimed at an abuse that happened in colonial America and to some extent during the Revolution that really has not been a problem since, and it rarely comes up, quartering soldiers in private homes. The Fourth Amendment is against unreasonable searches and seizures and was a reaction, among other things, to the so-called writs of assistance that were used to ferret out enemies of King George. Half the problem there was the vagueness of the idea of loyalty